Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today TV. I'm Sakshi Batra. Well, the air-conditioned restaurants in India continue to levy forced service charge on consumers, indicating non-compliance to the government guidelines. A survey by local circles has found that around 43% of consumers that have been surveyed have paid service charge at AC restaurants in the last 3 months, while only 9% have got it really removed. Joining in to discuss this further, I have with me Mr. Sachin Taparia. He's the founder and chairman of Local Circles. Welcome, sir, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this very important discussion. Could you share with us and all our viewers the key insights of the latest report and the survey that you've done?
So we've been tracking this issue, Sakshi, since 2017, and were the first ones. In fact, Local Circles was the platform that escalated it to the government that this was a strong consumer concern in 2017. And in 2017, when we asked people to share their experiences, basically what we gathered was that 19% of the restaurants basically were not charging service charge in 2017. 8% of the people got it reversed, and about 52% of the people basically simply paid the service charge.
Okay.
Fast forward several rounds of guidelines, rules in 2023 now, and several court hearings basically between the government and the restaurant associations. What we found is that the 43% number that you shared is basically the group of people who paid the service charge. So from 52 has come to 43. 19%, which where the restaurant did not levy the service charge, has gone up to 30%. So, some effect has happened as a result of all these government guidelines, media coverages, and whatnot. But the number of people or the percentage of people who basically fought it out or got it reversed is still at 9%. So essentially, what this is telling us is that, with all the awareness and work that has happened, some restaurants have stopped charging service charge because they feel it's not worth it. They've basically started building either in the price, or they are, waiting for consumers to give a tip or whatever.
Sure.
But the percentage of consumers who are willing to put a fight has not gone up. And I think that is something that the government and the restaurants both need to understand, that people, when they go out with their families and friends and other colleagues, especially post COVID, this
Yeah.
is it's still rare. It's once a month at best, maybe twice a month if you're more social. So people
Hmm.
don't want to get into an embarrassing situation or an awkward situation where they're fighting for this service charge reversal, and hence that percentage is not moving up. So really here what is happening is that a lot of people, which is this 43% number, go to a restaurant, they have their meal. If the experience is great, they're okay with it. If the experience is not
Yeah.
so good, that's when they come back, disappointed and dissatisfied. And I think that is something that the restaurants need to also understand, that this is a forced service charge. While what should really happen here, and we have sought a lot of inputs from people over the years, basically,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the ask is that, look, make it a service tip. Even the High Court has suggested, call it staff welfare charges, something else, not a service charge,
But do you
because
think will that make any difference to just change the name of service charge to something else? How will that make a difference?
so two-step, service charge, the term is a little confusing. It makes it sound official, like GST. So that's been the issue, right? But here the issue is a bit more, where people are saying, look, in the bill, show me a column for, let's say, a service tip. Give me suggestions that 5% is this much, 10% is this much, 15% is this much. Let me check that box based on my experience. If I've had a great experience, I'll check the 10 or the 15%. If I've had an average experience, I'll check a 5% box, or I won't check any box if I had a bad experience. But at the end of it, basically, you give the consumer a choice rather than
Yeah.
forcing that service charge upon them. And I think that is something that I think all stakeholders in the ecosystem, the restaurants, the government, the courts, everybody needs to understand that it is not worth it. That charge of 5, 7, 10% is not worth it for a bad consumer
Correct.
experience. Yeah,
Correct.
that consumer, if they had a great experience, they'll go and tell 10 people that they socialize with. But if they had a bad experience, right, they are going to never come back again. Plus, spread the bad word. So I think that is something that needs to be understood, and a solution needs to be found to this. So let's see what the High
Sure.
Court says today, and where this goes. But clearly, that 19% going to 30%, which is more restaurants not levying it, is a positive sign. I think that 30 needs to become 80 or 100 pretty quickly, and I think we'll be all set.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's imperative, and one really needs to know how soon can that transition happen. But for anyone going to restaurants today, anyone being charged service charge at any AC restaurant today, what is the thing that a customer should do now? What would you say?
So if they are very clear that they don't want to pay a service charge, they should take the government guidelines with them, and at the end of it, basically present it to the restaurant. When the bill is served to them, present those guidelines, and feedback from consumers across the country. What we have gathered is in 50-60% of the restaurants, they'll basically reverse the service charge. Some
Yeah.
restaurants, what they do is they won't reverse the service charge, but they'll give you a discount of equivalent, percentage.
Okay.
The challenge though is they'll take your phone number for that and other personal information, which you may or may not want to give. So,
Hmm.
so really, I think that is the solution if you don't want to pay a service charge, right? If you are willing to pay a service charge, basically, then I think it's a no-brainer, basically, that in most of these restaurants on the at the entrance or on the
Sure.
menu, it's written that we levy service charge. So it's a decision that it's a choice that you have made essentially.
Absolutely. So, what is an ideal situation to have currently, and what is the way forward from here, really?
So the way forward really is that for the restaurants here to basically take an objective look at this, and either if a portion of the service charge is being used for, let's say, restaurant maintenance and staff welfare and other things. Breakage is one thing that they say that they use some of the portion of what is collected. Then they should add that as part of the base price essentially of the food.
Hmm.
So I know what I'm paying for, what I'm buying, and it's there's no discussion there. If the service is great, I'll do the service tip or give the service tip basically, right? So
Sure.
so that is something that is an ideal solution. If that cannot be done for X, Y, and Z reasons, then at least make this voluntary, with an option of a checkbox where you're presented a draft or a tentative bill. You pick how much service charge you want to pay, and then your final bill is presented to you. So I think
Okay.
that's really the solution here in terms of way forward.
Fair enough. Point taken right there. So, lastly, Mr. Taparia, right now you just said that we'll have to wait for the Delhi High Court's decision or any observation on this matter. But even after today's decision, will it definitely bring in some kind of a conclusion to this long-standing contentious issue, or are there going to be further legal proceedings that one can continue to see?
I think it's speculating at this point, Sakshi. I think what is really needed is for the restaurant owners to find a solution to this, basically, which works in their long-term, business interest and drives up customer satisfaction rather than driving it down. So
All
High
right.
Court will
Well,
provide a direction, right? But the
yeah.
final solution, I think, it'll be a market-driven solution rather than a court-driven solution.
Understood, and that's the best way forward, perhaps. Many thanks, Mr. Taparia, for being with us on the show and discussing all these insights with us, a matter that concerns everyone who goes out to AC restaurants. And, this contentious issue always, comes up on an everyday basis to them as well. But right now, for giving us that clarity that what is currently the situation, how can consumers really deal with any kind of service charge being levied, and after the Delhi High Court really comes out with a decision, things will become more clear on an everyday basis. Sure. Many thanks for being with us on this show, sir.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share, and subscribe.